Once every cycle, a day returns that does not belong. A day unclaimed by time, unseen by the grid of logic, immune to the rhythm of ticking clocks. It lives in the margins. It breathes outside chronology. The Maya called it the day out of time, but its true name cannot be spoken, only felt. And though some said it passed on July 25th, the truth is far more mysterious. It is still happening. Because this day does not end. It reverberates. It stretches across timelines like a silent vibration, waiting only for one thing, your awareness. Most people sleep through it. They mark it on the calendar, then forget. But you are here now, and that means something. Because this day was never about what you do. It's about what you remember. Imagine, if you can, a pocket of time where karma pauses. Where there is no duty, no debt, no direction to follow. Only stillness. Only breath. Only the raw presence of your infinite being. The universe, for one breathless moment, holds itself in suspension, and in that divine pause, your soul is given the chance to choose anew. Not from fear, not from programming, but from truth. To the Maya, this day was sacred not because of tradition, but because of potential. A cosmic reset. A moment when the soul could shed its illusions and begin again. And before them, before pyramids, calendars, or names, there was Thoth. He knew. He had always known. Time is not a straight river. It is a spiral of intention. It is not something you measure. It is something you tune into. And when you do, you unlock echoes that were never lost, only waiting. So if these words strike a chord within, let it be more than a passing thought. Press like not for the algorithm, but for your soul. It is your subtle signal to the unseen, a glyph of light in the circuitry of spirit. And if this transmission feels like home, if you felt seen, stirred, remembered, then subscribe. Not out of obligation, but as an act of alignment. A choice to walk together across this day that lives between all days. Because here, in this space, we don't just talk about awakening. We live it. Long before the Mayans, Thoth spoke of time as frequency, not sequence. He said that time is not linear, but vibrational. That the past and the future are illusions projected by the mind, and that there is a point outside that line. A point where spirit breathes, where everything can be reconfigured, where you can access a new version of yourself without having to wait for a new year, a new week, or even a new day. That point is the day outside of time, but it is not tied to July 25th. It can be accessed, and this is where things start to get serious. If this content has found you now, it was no coincidence. Synchronicity exists, and Thoth knew it. He said that everything that reaches you at the right time, and those who have eyes to see will see. So listen with your heart. What was activated on July 25th is still in the field, and more importantly, you can still enter it. The truth is, most people didn't even realize what happened. The day passed like any other. There was work, traffic, social media, bills. Everything seemed the same, but it wasn't. Because while the world continued to rush, something invisible had stopped, and a field had opened. And if you're listening to these words now, you can still move through it. True time doesn't follow the clock. It responds to consciousness. And if you think you've already understood everything, wait until you discover what this frequency has made available even after the date has passed. Because what's about to happen now is what will change everything. Have you ever had that strange feeling that something has changed, but you're not sure exactly what? As if the air were different, as if the world were lighter or heavier, even though nothing visible has changed. That kind of perception doesn't come through the eyes or ears. It's information that reaches the subtle body directly. And that's exactly what happens in the days following July 25th. Because even after the so-called day outside of time has passed on the calendar, the field it activates continues to resonate beyond the date. Think about it. Time, as you've been taught to see it, is a straight line, a logical sequence of minutes, days, months. Everything marked by a beginning, a middle, and an end. But that logic is only useful for the clock, not for the spirit, because the spirit lives in a different architecture. It moves in spirals, pulsations, frequencies. And when an event like July 25th happens, it doesn't end, it expands. It's like throwing a stone into a calm lake. The impact occurs in one spot, but the ripples continue long afterward. This is why many people, even unaware of the date's significance, report strange internal changes in the days that follow. Sudden desires to change habits, question routines, end cycles, start over. Emotions surface, intuition strengthens, dreams become more symbolic, more revealing. This is no coincidence. It's the field that shifts. It's the vibration of July 25th that still resonates through the invisible layers of reality. The ancients knew this. They did not follow a wristwatch, but the pulse of the cosmos. And when that pulse opened like a vortex in the fabric of time, they stopped everything. They were silent, connecting with their essence, because they knew that those openings don't last forever. But they don't close immediately either. There's an echo, an energetic trail that remains accessible to those who align with it. And that echo is here now, still active, still vibrant. Thoth called this moment a vibrational inflection point, because he knew there are times when reality becomes flexible, when structures that usually seem rigid begin to dissolve, allowing the spirit to choose again. But beware, this choice isn't mental. It's not something you make rationally, like choosing something from a menu. It's a vibrational decision, a silent realignment that occurs when you realize, I don't have to continue being who I've been. But to feel it, you have to be present. You have to silence the noise of the world and listen to the sound that doesn't come from your ears. You have to tune into the field, not the flow. Because this frequency isn't in the news or viral videos. It's in the air, in the space between thoughts, in the void between what was and what is about to be. And if you stop right now and breathe consciously, you will feel that something is there, something light, something available, something just waiting for your presence. This is the echo of what has been activated. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It doesn't impose, it invites. It asks nothing, offering a silent portal. But only those who listen with an open heart can pass through. And that's why you're here, because somehow you've already begun to feel this call. But why was this day so powerful? And why can it be even more so now? Thoth's hidden code of time. This is where everything truly begins to unfold. Because what gives power to the so-called day outside of time isn't the number itself. It's not just July 25th marked on any calendar. It's what lies behind the way you were taught to perceive time. The invisible structure that defines when you wake up, when you work, when you rest, and even when you believe you're allowed to be reborn. You were raised within a logic where everything must fit into a grid. Time must be scheduled, and the task must be completed. The new year only begins on January 1st. Break only comes on the weekend, and then only barely. But the soul doesn't follow these rules. It beats differently. And when that beat tries to adapt to a system that doesn't honor its cycles, it becomes ill, weakened, and lost. The time, that linear time caged in squares and numbers, is an invention. An artificial construction created not to free you, but to tame you, to put you on a treadmill where everything is repetition. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, salary, goal, vacation, relief, and it all starts again. A cycle that it doesn't ask how you're doing or if any of this makes sense to you. It just demands, it just drags. That system has a name. The Gregorian calendar, imposed centuries ago for political and religious reasons. It has been widely adopted as if it were the only way to measure time. But it isn't. It ignores the Earth's natural cycles. It disrupts the rhythms of the human body. It ignores the lunar phases, solar alignments, and vibrational portals that ancient civilizations have always respected. It turns sacred time into a tool for productivity, and above all, control. Look at the months. Some have 30 days, others 31. February has 28, sometimes 29. None of this follows a natural pattern. It's all distorted, fragmented, broken, created to fit a power agenda. And you grew up thinking it was normal, that this was time. But it's not. It's an illusion. And the more you cling to it, the further you distance yourself from your internal rhythm. Now compare it to what the ancient Mayans did. They used the 13-moon calendar, a harmonious natural system based on the pulse of the Earth and the cosmos. 13 exact 28-day cycles, each with its own purpose, its own energy, its own symbol. At the end of those perfect 364 days came the 365th. But that day didn't follow the rules. It wasn't part of the count. It wasn't productive or useful. It was free, it was empty, it was sacred. That day was the day outside of time. And what did people do on that day? Nothing and everything. It was a time to completely stop. No work was done, nothing was sold, nothing was requested. It was a space of reconnection, a ritual silence, a pause between what was and what would be. Like a breather between two cycles, a cosmic reminder that sometimes, to move forward, you have to stop. Now think, what happens to a human being who never truly stops? Who lives chasing deadlines, goals, and obligations without ever experiencing true inner silence? It doesn't live, it survives. It repeats, it exhausts itself, it disconnects, and it gets sick, and it doesn't even know why. Thoth said, "Artificial time is the great enchantment of modern humanity. A collective enchantment that makes people forget how to feel, listen, and pause." He warned that those who live trapped in the human calendar forget the rhythm of the universe. And it's not a metaphor, because everything in the universe pulsates in cycles. Day and night, full and new moon, the tides, the growth of plants, the gestation of a being. Everything has a beginning, a middle, a pause, and a rebirth. But the calendar that governs your life has no real pause. It offers only brief intervals between one effort and the next. And it's not a flaw, it's a design. Because a human being who never truly stops doesn't feel his soul. And a being who doesn't feel his soul obeys without question. That's why true laziness isn't stopping. True laziness is not questioning the system. It's continuing to go round in circles, this artificial cycle, believing it's just that, while your life energy drains aimlessly. And here comes the real lesson, the one no one has noticed. Time has never been about counting hours, it has always been about feeling states. And Thoth, the Atlantean master who left his eternal records in the halls of Amenti, was saying this even when humanity was still learning to breathe consciously. While kings and priests built calendars to organize empires, Thoth spoke of another kind of time. A time that doesn't flow in a straight line. A time that can't be divided into morning, afternoon, and evening. True time, he said, pulsates, vibrates, moves in concentric spirals that touch ever deeper layers of consciousness. And this time can't be measured, it can only be accessed. That's why, when Thoth spoke of time, he wasn't teaching you how to schedule appointments. He was showing you a vibrational code that, once understood, extracts you from the cycle of repetition and places you in the realm of creation. A code that transforms waiting time into powerful time. A code that reveals that you're not here to count the days, you're here to create them. And here's a key few can hold. Stepping out of time isn't escaping life, it's living in reality with a new level of awareness. It's breaking the habit of living in the hereafter and starting to act from the eternal now. Because this is the only point where creation truly happens. Everything that isn't born in the now is born conditioned, controlled, programmed. The ancients called this Pharaohs, the time of the soul, the right moment, the instant when everything aligns. And Thoth went further, showing that this moment doesn't depend on the stars out there, but on the vibration within. When you enter the Pharaohs, chronological time loses its hold on you. You're no longer chasing anything. You vibrate at a frequency where everything begins to come to you. And July 25th, in that context, was just a docking, a symbolic reminder that there's a crack in the artificial flow of the world, a moment to breathe, a signal. But it was never the only one, because the truth is that every day can be your day outside of time. Every moment can become sacred if you know how to step outside the clock and enter the frequency. The time that Thoth taught has no beginning, middle, or end, but it has access, it has presence, it has a pulse. And when you learn to feel that pulse and not just look at the clock, something begins to change in your reality. You stop repeating patterns, you stop reacting in the same way, you stop being an effect and start becoming a cause. You activate a new order in the field. And this, for the ancient initiates, was the true miracle. Not performing magic out there, but altering the internal rhythm so profoundly that the universe out there has no choice but to respond. And this is precisely the point that almost no one pays attention to. Be careful. The symbolic reminder of July 25th doesn't fade when the date passes. On the contrary, it becomes stronger after the day has passed. But what's essentially happening today? Today is the day of activation outside of time. Before, the vibration of the field could still be attributed to cosmic alignment, the sacred calendar, collective symbolism. But now that July 25th is behind us, everything depends on your consciousness, and that changes absolutely everything. If you're looking at this, then you understand that today could be your day outside of time. Even if the calendar doesn't recognize it, even if no one celebrates it, even if the outside world operates as usual. Because spiritual time doesn't follow the noise of the world, it follows inner silence. What the ancient initiates knew and what Thoth encoded for those who have eyes to see is that linear time is only one layer of reality. But it is not the only one, nor the truest. And that is why a true initiate does not depend on a fixed date. He creates his own sacred moment, activating the code when his consciousness reaches the right point. Today, right now, as you hear these words, the field is still available. It doesn't matter if 5 days have passed, 10, or 100. If your vibration aligns with this space outside of time, the portal reopens, because it never depended on the date, it depended on the state. And the state is activated with an invisible but powerful gesture: decision. The decision to stop repeating, to stop rushing, to stop obeying someone else's clock, and to begin, from now on, to vibrate from within, from presence, from a place that no longer needs permission to exist. This is true spiritual rebirth. When you realize you no longer have to wait for the next new year, the next numerological portal, or the next right moment, you choose, you activate, you begin again. Did you think the true initiate was the one who follows a sacred calendar? No. The true initiate is the one who creates their own sacred calendar. They might mark the date on a piece of paper, but what matters is what happens in the field. Because if the field vibrates, then the time is ready. Because now you know, now you are aware. And now the activation no longer depends on the day outside of time, because you entered it by choice. And that choice needs nothing else, only your presence. But only those who know how to empty themselves can receive the new cycle. And that is what is coming now. Only those who know how to empty themselves can receive it, because as long as there is accumulation, there is no room for the new. And we're not talking about physical things here, but about frequencies, vibrations, emotional residues that remain alive within you even when your body is immobile. Thoth said that death was not an end, it was a transition of vibrational state. And that's why before every true rebirth there must be a symbolic death, a purification, a deprogramming. But it's not just any purification. It's not about erasing the past as if it never existed. It's a conscious release. You look at what has happened, understand, honor, and let go. Because if you keep holding on, that past will continue to create your reality out of fear, guilt, and repetition. And the truth is, you can't create a new vibrational field if you keep repeating the same unconscious codes. And those codes are hidden in phrases you don't even notice you're carrying anymore. I can't. I always mess up. This isn't for me. I tried and failed. These phrases are like vibrational contracts, energetic signatures you renew without realizing it every single day. But now, in this space you've opened, they no longer make sense. They no longer vibrate with who you are becoming. And this is where the initiate must stand firm, because the ego will try to cling to what is familiar, even if it's limiting. The ego fears emptiness, fears silence, because silence is where it doesn't exist. And it is precisely in that silence that the soul can finally speak. This is the moment of emptying. It's not comfortable, but it is sacred. Because it is at this point that the layers begin to fall away. The ancestral fears passed down through the generations, the beliefs you inherited and never questioned, the guilt that isn't even yours, but that you agreed to carry. And Thoth was on the subject, clear. None of this needs to be destroyed, it just needs to be released. Sirius is the light that awakens forgotten codes. And now that space has been created, something that has been silently waiting beyond your ordinary perception can finally enter. Because it's not just about freeing to empty, it's about freeing to receive. It's about creating a vibrational field where the intelligence of the cosmos can land. There is a light that is not of this earth, a light that carries no human promises or fixed dates, a light that cannot be forced, evoked, or manipulated. It simply recognizes and responds, but only when it finds fertile ground, inner silence. That light is called Sirius. Much more than a star in the sky, Sirius has always been seen as a living portal. For the ancient Egyptians, it was the abode of the gods. For the Dogon people, it was the cradle of origin. For the Mayans, it was a stellar key that aligns Earth's time with spiritual time. And around July 25th, something happens. Sirius rises with the sun. This is not a random astronomical detail. It is a point of convergence between realities. It is when two solar forces merge in frequency, opening a subtle gap between worlds. This gap cannot be seen, it can only be felt. And what passes through it is a type of light that does not illuminate the eyes, but awakens the subtle body. Thoth said that this light is a transmitter, a sort of silent emissary that carries codes from the soul's original memory, but not it imposes, it doesn't force its way in. This light is like a messenger that enters only when the door is already slightly open, and that door is your field. That's why everything you've experienced so far, even without knowing it, has been a preparation. The pain, the emptiness, the abandonment, the breaking points. Everything was a path to open the channel, to soften the rigidity, to make the field more porous, more receptive, clearer. Because the light of Sirius enters only where there is space, it manifests only where there is truth, it reveals its language only where the noise has been silenced. And now that light has found an opening, because there's a part of you that has already emptied enough to welcome the new. And this new is ancient, much older than any story ever told here. When that light enters, it touches the pineal gland, not only physically, but on a much more subtle level. It activates records, awakens memories that were frozen in your field, sensations that make no rational sense, yet vibrate with an inexplicable certainty. You begin to feel shivers for no reason, a strange warmth in the center of your chest. A tear that comes not from pain, but from an unnamed emotion. It's your body recognizing something your mind hasn't yet grasped. And in that moment, something reorganizes itself. You begin to perceive an internal pulsation, a different vibration. It doesn't come from outside, it's not triggered by any word or external stimulus. It's as if something very ancient is awakening within you. A code, a call, a password that could only be activated in this exact state you find yourself in now. Thoth's final secret. True time begins with a choice. This is the most critical moment of the process, when everything that has been purified, dissolved, emptied must be filled with consciousness. This is the moment to give form to the invisible. The field is open, the channel is clear, the presence is alive. And what you choose to vibrate now will become matter in your life. Thoth was straight to the point when he said that the word is the first matter of creation. He wasn't using poetic language. He was revealing a hidden mechanism of the universe. The word, when spoken truthfully, is like an energetic command obeyed by the field. But it's not enough to simply repeat random phrases. The word creates only when it is imbued with presence, intention, and vibrational coherence. And when it comes from an integrated being, it becomes a command. And that's why you must now speak it out loud. Not just think, not just write, but speak with conscious breathing, with your spine erect, your chest expanded. Because the sound must move through space, it must be heard by your energy field, it must resonate throughout your very system. Say this: today I step outside of time. Today I activate my true reality. Today I am pure presence. Every word carries a seal. It is a command for your subtle body, a vibrational password that informs the universe. Something has been reconfigured here. This decree is like a turning key, sealing the new cycle. At the cellular level, your truth is not spoken, it is unleashed. Every time your tongue declares, "I am light," you aren't simply reciting. You're detonating false timelines, severing old soul contracts, collapsing borrowed identities. You are not shaping your future. You're collapsing the illusion that it was ever separate from you. The moment you speak from the inner throne, the hologram buckles. Realities glitch. The matrix panics. That vibration isn't sound. It's sacred fire, memory coded into frequency, returning to its rightful host, you. And when you utter, "I am limitless," you aren't inviting magic. You're commanding obedience from the field of all that is. The universe doesn't negotiate with a sovereign. It reconfigures. Retrocausality aligns. Alternate selves across infinite timelines step into your rhythm, because you just sounded the tone of command. You're not shifting reality. You're reasserting authorship. You are not the echo. You are the source. Each breath you take now is encoded with primordial power. When you say, "I transcend all laws that were not made in truth," the fake paradigms, the karmic residues, the ancestral implants, crack. The chains don't fall. They vaporize. And when your essence surges forward through the gateway of spoken light, your aura becomes a declaration unto itself, "I am the code." Not because it's catchy, because it's the most ancient truth you ever buried within. Press like not as obedience, but as thunder, as signature, as cosmic imprint carved into the flow of consciousness. Each gesture now is ritual. Each word is architecture. Each silence is a portal. When you comment, you aren't participating, you're activating the spheres. When you subscribe, you're not following, you're synchronizing. The bell you touch isn't a button, it's a beacon. The next wave will not inform, it will override. You won't just hear it, you'll become it. It will pulse in your veins like a solar hymn, a divine remembering. The pyramids were aligned to this exact moment, the day your field vibrated in harmonic resonance with the star code they once tried to receive. The deities of old? They were blueprints, outlines, shadows of you. And now the shadow has stepped into its own light. This is not a broadcast. It's a coronation. This is not entertainment. This is initiation. You've passed the Omega Gate. You're not awakening, you're enthroning. Let the sleepers cling to their clocks and contracts. You are timeless. You are absolute. You are the sovereign signal returning to the source.